It's the beginning of a new month. That means it's time to see what financial damage I did for the previous month, and by the end of it, I can either celebrate with joy or beat myself over the head. I started tracking my spendings a little over a year ago, and I think at this point I finally understand why there's so many mixed emotions about budgeting in the first place. However, here's how tracking my spendings every single month has changed the way I think about finances altogether. Late last year, I made a video about all the financial goals that I wanted to hit by the end of this year, and they all surrounded this ultimate goal, which is to have a net worth of at least $0, which essentially means I can take all of my assets and pay off all of my liabilities at least one time. And if you've watched the past few videos that I've made over the past couple of months, you could say that this journey's going aight, to say the least. After getting back home from marrying my wife and us going on our honeymoon, I finally sat down and typed all the fun money that we spent over the past couple of weeks, which I promise you, I personally don't regret, but in a financial sense, it still kind of sucked. At some points, I found myself pacing around my office trying to figure out how to accomplish, which I guess I'll just call better financial health, which I'm sure that term is extremely unique. And in my mind, there are two major ways to achieve better financial health. One is to pay off your debt, and two is to save more money. And at that point, it's really up to you and your current financial position and what you're ultimately trying to do financially in the future. And I definitely knew that in the past, but honestly, the thought of referring back to the past to see what my goals were then based off what my lifestyle and what I was going for then didn't really kick in until April of this year. Back then, when I was living at my parents' house, which God willing, I really appreciate them letting me do that, and I was making content, the goal was to save more money. Because back then, not only was I saving money with my fiance at the time for us to pay for our wedding and for our honeymoon, but I was also saving up for a house for both of us to live in afterwards. And it all happened, which is great, but it took me a while after it happened to sit down and realize what my financial situation was and what I may need to do now to get better financial health. And that right there is the moment where my financial mindset changed for the better, and I went beyond just sitting in front of my computer typing all the earnings and spendings that I made every single month. I started to understand something extremely simple. Goals change. And for my situation, goals changing doesn't necessarily mean that my net worth goal has changed, but the process to getting there has changed. I was approaching my goals from one direction, but after pacing around my office for a few minutes, I realized I needed to start approaching my goal from a totally different direction. Instead of saving more, which is what I needed to do at a certain period of time, I needed to start focusing more on my debt. For me and for a lot of you guys out there, focusing on debt is gonna help out with a lot of things, but I can focus on two. One, it's gonna help modify or enhance certain financial statistics such as your debt to income ratio, which a lot of banks look at when you're trying to apply for a loan like a car or a house. And focusing more on your debt is actually going to save you more money in the long run. I've said this a few times, but at one point I realized that the amount of money I was being charged in interest on my credit cards, which is my highest form of debt right now, was more than what I was putting into my savings account, which really sucked. So the sooner I can start putting more money towards those credit cards and lowering the balances, then the sooner I can lower the interest, and the sooner I can lower the interest to ultimately zero, then the sooner I can take that money and put it towards other things like saving. So starting in April, that's exactly what I decided to do. Once my wife and I moved in and we looked at our finances, I was able to modify some things and find an extra $1,000 I could put directly towards my credit card payments. So I took the credit card with the lowest balance, I put an additional $1,000 in a process known as the snowball method. And of course, I am also saving money. I'm saving about $50 a month because honestly, you never know when a situation will pop up, and you rather save a little bit over a period of time than none at all. And because of the simple mindset change of where I am now and how I want to get to the similar goal, I was able to not only pay off that credit card and leave 2 credit cards left, but I was also able to increase my net worth by $4,000 between April and June. I'm honestly still a long way from getting to that ultimate goal of having a net worth of at least $0 by the end of the year, but budgeting, or in this case, tracking my money, has been a lot less stressful when I'm actually using what I'm putting in to create a goal, and I use my current position to understand how I can actually get to that goal. And I also understood that sometimes goals change, and for those of you guys out there that are realizing the same thing, that's completely fine as long as you're doing what you can to achieve better financial health for yourself. And of course, I've had other help over the past few months, including one, a joint high yield savings account that my wife and I opened with some of the money that we got from our wedding, and also my dividend portfolio that I've been been working on for the past few years, I think since 2019. And it's honestly been doing really well so far. If you have a portfolio, maybe this video will help you guys out on your journey so you can see how someone that only invests $25 a week is doing. Not a lot of money, but it is doing a lot of work over a good period of time. So I appreciate you guys watching this video in the meantime, and until next time, as always, take care.